because I am weird.
You know what the most attractive thing in the world is? It's fear.
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Downright Frightening podcast. How are you, Brother Cole?
I'm doing great. Glad it's finally time for episode 2. Ever since we finished episode 1, I've really couldn't wait to get another episode done.
Me too, and I've gotten some messages from some of you out there, and we really appreciate the support that we've gotten from all 2 of you. No, we need to do a better job of getting out in front of people. That's our fault, not yours. But I hope that everybody that has had a chance to listen to it has enjoyed it. And I hope we didn't offend too many people by taking such a large shit on Trilogy of Terror. But this week, it's payback time, because we are going to be talking about one of my favorite movies that it seems like the entire population enjoys taking a shit on. So, in a sense, consider this your payback, because this week we are covering the 1982 classic Halloween 3, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, produced by the dynamic duo of John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. This fantastic cinematic adventure stars Tom Atkins and Stacey Nelkin. Also, a big shout out to another familiar face of the John Carpenter universe, Nancy Loomis. Most of you may have noticed that Nancy Loomis also starred in the John Carpenter classics, Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween 1, Halloween 2, The Fog, and of course, she plays Linda Chalice, the happily estranged wife of Dr. Chalice, played by the fabulous, the one and only Mr. Tom Atkins. Let's kick it off this week by playing a quick TV spot for the movie.
First, there was Halloween. Then the terror continued with Halloween 2. Now, Halloween 3. The night no one comes home.
The world's going to change tonight, Doctor.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Happy Halloween.
Rated R. Starts Friday at a theater near you. Check newspapers.
So, obviously, this was the TV spot that was ran on the week of 10/22 back in old 80 Deuce. I absolutely love this TV spot for a couple of reasons. It has now, of course, it's very nostalgic because it has the check the newspaper line at the end. And I love that. Reminds me of days gone by. But I also really enjoy the music, the sound, just everything about it. It really fits as far as the creep factor is concerned of what the entire movie portrays. I also really enjoyed that they bring in the Night That No One Comes Home line, which is a play off of the original Halloween tagline of The Night He Came Home. So I really liked that they brought that in, even though the two movies are so different and so completely on opposite ends of the spectrum. I do like that they tied them together by keeping the taglines relatively similar.
Yeah, those trailers like that, like the old trailers that they used to come out with, they had even the voiceover guy was just so creepy when he's telling you.
Yes, and it's got like that. It's got the classic voiceover guy too. Coming. It's just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump right into this review. I know that all of the horror boards and Facebook groups and comments are always so terrible on this movie. and everybody has made it almost a sport to shit talk this movie. And I'm going to tell you, I really don't appreciate it. It's my favorite, well, maybe not my favorite, but it's in my top 5 for sure. Like, for sure, it's in my top 5. It very well could be my favorite, but it's just really hard for me as a super fan to narrow it down to one movie. But I can tell you for sure that I have seen this movie over 100 times, and there's some times where I go 3 or 4 nights in a row and I watch it. So you could say that I'm pretty much obsessed. Probably just gonna like make this official. Probably the film's biggest fan. So instead of going into a full detailed review of the movie, because I think most people have seen it at this point, I would rather focus on why it's hated so much. Number 1, I think the biggest thing that people complain about is no Michael Myers. So Michael Myers died in Halloween 2. Changed my mind. I mean, it's that simple. Dr. Loomis blew him up at the end of Halloween 2. And as far as I'm concerned, if John Carpenter decided that he was dead, then he should have been dead. And he should have stayed dead. So that argument of no Michael Myers does not hold any water with me.
You know, like me and you have talked before, that this is before, you know, killers were dying and coming back to life and dying and coming back to life, you know.
Right.
Once they're dead, you know. So, I mean, it's just the way it should have went.
Yeah, and, you know, the other thing is people always fail to realize or remember or whatever is that at this point in the Michael Myers story, you know, at the end of Halloween 2, it had not been established that he was some sort of like superhuman monster that could sustain all this damage. He, at the end of Halloween 1, Dr. Loomis thought that he shot him 6 times, but they didn't show that he had sustained 6, you know, bullet holes or that he had, you know, almost bled to death or anything like that. They kind of left it open that, you know, maybe you didn't actually hit him 6 times. So then when Halloween 2 comes, he gets blown up again. Why would you think he was still alive at this point? There's no reason for anybody to have thought that he was still alive at the end of Halloween 2. And there was nothing in the build-up or the TV spots or the trailers or the advertising to make you think that he was going to be in Halloween 3. Number 2, no Donald Pleasance. I absolutely love DP. Donald Pleasance, of course. But for Halloween 3, we don't need old Donnie because we have the one and only Tom Atkins. In this modern day of sissy boys and so-called toxic masculinity, Brother Tom is exactly what we need because he reminds us what a real man is and what a real man is supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Tom Atkins, the whole movie, he's strutting his stuff, man. He's rolling around rocking that mustache that rivals that of Tom Selleck. You know, if it was a mustache war, I believe Tom Atkins could take Tom Selleck any day of the week. You know?
No doubt. No doubt. If Tom Atkins had the fanfare and the primetime TV cop drama, he would have been world renowned for having the best mustache on the planet. Everybody just needs to face it and get with the times. Tom Atkins, number 1 mustache on planet Earth ever. Number 3, no Haddonfield. Okay, again, I can understand that this is a little bit of a shock for people, but if there's no Michael Myers and there's no Jamie Lee Curtis, why do we need to be in Haddonfield? Again, if you watch Halloween 2, what makes you think that we need to be back in Haddonfield? Halloween 2 was perfectly wrapped up. It was tied up, a bow on top. Everything was done. We do not need to be in Haddonfield. But I really like this point specifically because John Carpenter, as always, broke the mold, went in a completely different direction with new locations, new characters, even a new villain. Nothing tired, nothing boring. So what? If you want tired and repetitive bullshit, watch somebody else's work, because if you're a fan of Carpenter, you know that that's not how he rolls.
Yeah, and the thing about Carpenter is he went a new direction, new location, new everything, but at the same time he still does the Tom Carpenter thing. I mean, there's just my favorite part of things like this is the little Easter eggs, and we talked about before. He's still semi quietly paying homage to those first two movies. I mean, the operator that Chalice gets every time he goes on the phone, that's the voice of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
The announcer that announces the curfews, Jamie Lee Curtis's voice. You know, little things like that he's paying homage to. So you can't, you know, he's still doing his thing and paying homage to those movies, even though he's gone a new direction. But at the same time, he's taking it where it needs to be.
Exactly. And the most important part for a movie like this is the vibe. And with this movie, we've got the perfect John Carpenter vibe, which is the world is burning. There's nothing you can do about it. Strap in, sit down. There's not going to be any winners, no losers, just misery.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in at the very end of the movie when Chalice is at the gas station, he's trying to call and tell him to shut off the TV station. You know, originally they were gonna have you could hear the children scream as it faded out and everything, and they were supposed. But you know, John Carpenter fashion, they cut that out so that you don't know whether the kids died, they didn't die. Did he save the day? Did he not save the day? You're left with that hanger, you know. So I think it went perfectly. I mean, it's just the right style.
Also, let me lay this one on you. Why no hate for the huge pieces of shit in this series that do include Michael Myers? And if you are going to sit here and pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to give you 3 words. Busta fucking rhymes. A lot of people say that this movie almost killed the franchise. Well, you know what? Maybe it should have.
It definitely couldn't. It wasn't going to kill the franchise. It was even going to reinvent the franchise and make it better, in my opinion. Because I mean, okay, Michael Myers is dead. The whole idea after that was John Carpenter was going to take every Halloween after that and release a movie that was a Halloween based story, and we could have had so many more movies after this that could have been epic. But because people hated on this so much that they decided to go back with Michael Myers, and with when you get down to it and you get all the way to when, you know, Buster Rhymes is kung fu kicking trying to kill Michael Myers, I mean, that's when it got ridiculous. Like, that's so far out there that they should have just drowned that movie before it even hit the theaters. That was terrible.
And like, even Halloween 4, I can't remember the exact specifics, but they explain away the fact that Michael Myers has been in a coma for all these years and years and years. This dude's just been in a coma, laying in this hospital, and then all of a sudden he just wakes up. The whole thing just doesn't make any sense. And not that Halloween 4 is a terrible movie by any means, but Halloween 5 is. Halloween 5 is terrible. Nobody ever talks about that movie being bad, but it is awful. There is a secret Illuminati plot to keep Michael Myers alive. They break him out of prison. There's all kinds of weird stuff in that movie, and nobody ever talks about it. So when people say that, you know, well, good thing Halloween 3 didn't kill the franchise like it almost did, I say, again, maybe it should have, because there's a big reason why Halloween 2018 completely omits all the movies except the original, because most of them after 2 were terrible. That, you know, that had Michael Myers in them. Bottom line is this: I love the movie. That does not mean that you should too. But if you watch the movie as it was intended and watch it for what it was supposed to be, there's no reason why you shouldn't like it. And if you aren't a fan of this movie after looking at it through those glasses, then you are not a fan of the horror genre, period. The end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this movie in and of itself is a great movie. It's got a great storyline. I mean, the whole thing though, it's just great. The twist, everything. You know, it's a really good movie in and of itself, and it could have been a start of something great, and it wasn't. But you know, just this movie alone, I love this movie. I think it's a great quality movie.
The sickening statistics for this fantastic cinematic adventure are as follows: 9 corpses, one of which is a diseaseless hobo that has his head popped off, 15 psychotic robot assassins, brief nudity, snakes and insects coming out of mouths, 1 misfire, at least 1 keg of beer consumed by Tom Adkins, and Last but not least, one Vaporized Irishman. The gore score is 8.5. The only reason that I won't go with a 10 here is because you do not have a clear view of the hobo's head coming off of his body. Coming in at a grand total of 98 minutes, if you haven't seen this beaut, quit being a goon and just check it out. Considering the blue stone is the source of all the power of the silver shamrock masks, I have to ask you, Brother Cole, where did Stonehenge come from?
Stonehenge, man. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument in Wiltshire, England. We all know about it. You know, it's two miles west of Amesbury, and it's made of these huge stones. These stones are huge. They're 13 feet high, 7 feet wide, and weighing around 25 tons. And they say that these stones could have come from these two quarries that are over 180 miles away. Now, you got to think this is so far back. They don't have the heavy equipment that we have now to move stones like this, to move these stones from 180 miles away to here. How would they do it? How did they get them there? What was the reason? I'm going to tell you right now. Put all these scientists and everything away because I'm going to give you the real reason it's here. It is the aliens, man. It's always the aliens. You know, and what's interesting about this is Wiltshire, England is a hotbed for alien and UFO activity. You know, even as 2017, just before the summer solstice, there were sightings of UFOs above Stonehenge. You know, what is it? Is it a UFO landing pad from the past? You know, is it a marker for, you know, what the aliens are trying to do? Because, I mean, all around this area in the fields and stuff, they're constantly seeing patterns, these strange patterns in their fields, crop circles and things like this. So there's no way you can't say that it's the aliens. You know, for me, whoever made it, whether it be the aliens or the people that the aliens were controlling, I have to say they did it for the Palladians. They did it for the Greys. It was the aliens, no doubt about it.
I have to say it's aliens. And this is why. To your point, why would they go so far to go get another stone from another quarry when there were similar stones in the quarry that they'd been digging out of? Someone was telling them to do that. They didn't just decide to add that much more work to a project that was almost nearly impossible just because.
No, definitely not. I mean, let's say, so you look at it, you look at the thing, the way it's set up, it's a Stargate. That's what it is. It's a Stargate.
Well, hopefully we didn't lose all of you there, because I know that some people get really turned off by alien, you know, are quick to change the channel. But that's part of the problem, is that if we're not talking about these things and if we're not discussing the possibilities, then we'll never figure it out. So next section, of course, is what you streaming. Well, I be streaming Jason Goes to Hell. It is currently on Netflix. And if you did not know, you can go and watch The Final Friday today. There are stories from the set for this movie that it was a hot mess to shoot. But I can tell you that watching it, you'd never know. Not really. Kind of weird. But I thought that it was an awesome spin on a franchise that was getting a little bit stale. There's perfect levels of gore, perfect levels of fright. There's a couple of twists, a couple of turns, and there's just the right amount of cheddar that you would expect in a Friday the 13th movie. If you haven't seen it, there's a very, very, very cool cliffhanger ending that I will not spoil, but I'm going to use it as bait to get you to go watch it, because I think that it was awesome. Check it out, ASAFP on Netflix.
All right, so I be streaming another great John Carpenter film, Christine, starring Keith Gordon, who actually got his first feature film role as class clown Doug in another classic movie, Jaws 2, as well as John Stockwell, Alexandra Paul, and the late Robert Prosky. This is a great movie. I love it. The nerd finds this cool car, starts restoring it, becomes totally Mr. Badass. He starts dating the prettiest girl in school, and his car goes into maximum overdrive and starts killing everybody that tries to mess with it. So, you know, it's you can't go wrong there. So it's a great movie, and that's what I'd be streaming right now. Also, second thing, from our last episode, we had talked about the movie Happy Death Day to You. I'd be streaming. I streamed Happy Death Day. It was a good movie, had a good storyline, great couple twists. especially towards the end. You thought you had it figured out. In fact, the character thought she had it figured out as well. You get hit with another twist and then another twist. I would say it's less of a horror movie, more of a comedy teen slasher movie. But it was, it was worth watching. I mean, I watched it, I got through it, and I probably, though, won't be going to see Happy Death Day to You in theaters. I'll probably wait till it comes out on streaming and watch it then.
That makes two of us. I don't have any time in my life for teen slashers. Scream was the last one. I think that was the only group and cast that could effectively make a teen slasher. The rest of them are just cheap ripoffs. In other streaming news, there is a reimagining of George Romero classic Creepshow. FYI, the OG version stars Tom Atkins in an uncredited role. Filming began in Georgia earlier this month for a 6-episode series on Shudder, and I think it's going to be freaking awesome. I cannot wait. Before we slide into this week's Creeper in the Theater, I want to take a quick minute to shout out one of our brave first few followers on Instagram, Midnight Video. Midnight Video makes amazing horror shorts that they describe as the type of movies they want to see. Well, I can tell you, after watching one of them, it's the movies that I want to see too. I watched one of their shorts entitled Your Date Is Here on YouTube, and it was fantastic. It is everything missing from modern horror, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You can check them out on the gram at midnight_video and on YouTube at Midnight Video. Creeper in the Theater. There's not a whole lot of options for horror in theaters this decade, it seems like. So we're going to go with a movie that was released last week, The Prodigy. In short, a mother and father are delighted when they realize that their son is super smart and a little bit weird, but they get increasingly concerned when they find out that he might be under the control of a dark force. No shit. This one is rated R for violence, disturbing and bloody images, a sexual reference, and, get this, brief, graphic nudity. It takes a truly disgusting delight to drag me into a movie theater in this year of our Lord, 2019. But this one does look at least a little bit interesting.
Yeah, for sure. The Prodigy starring Taylor Schilling, which everyone knows from Orange is the New Black. I didn't like that show. It was terrible. But
garbage.
Yeah, so, and also Jackson Robert Scott, which Jackson is starting his career off right. He played Georgie in It, and he's going to be in The Prodigy. He was in Fear the Walking Dead. So he's getting his toes into that horror genre, even though we all know that Fear the Walking Dead, not that great. So, but the other movies, we'll see. He may, end up being great. We'll see.
Yeah, I will definitely give him a 2 out of 3 stars for the Prodigy and for It. But like you said, Fear the Walking Dead, hot garbage, it's really, really hot garbage. Next episode, we're going to be heading to Dallas for the 1986 Texas OU Chili Cook-Off. If I could give you one tip, one trick, one little piece of advice for Texas chili, is that you don't skimp on the meat. Never, ever skimp on the meat. That's about it for this episode. If you have any comments or feedback, please drop us a note at downrightpodcast@gmail.com. And you can also keep up with our shenanigans if you like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Downright Podcast. We can also now be found on YouTube as well as SoundCloud. So you've got a few different ways to listen to us. We're working on more. We appreciate your support. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Take it off the air now, please.
It can't end.
Stop it now. Turn it off. Stop it. Stop it.
Mr. Pop.
Stop it. Stop it.
Eat.
Stop it. Stop it.